I didn't know that I started this video eating popcorn. I'm sorry, I'm hungry. Hey, review family, keep it tight. My name is Jay Morse, the review guy, and I'm back again to bring you another video. And in this one, I'm covering the new Rammstein album. It's untitled. Self-titled, we'll just go with untitled. Rammstein is a German Neue, Deutsche, Härte band. I've never known how to pronounce that. Formed in 1994. And if you don't know what that genre that I just butchered the pronunciation of is, it is a genre that Rammstein pretty much innovated. They pretty much created with some other bands. And it's a genre that takes its cues from alternative metal, groove metal, and mixes it in with like industrial elements, electro elements, techno elements, all together to make this very epic sounding genre. This album has some definitive alternative metal and techno influences per usual, and I can clearly right off the bat say that this isn't Rammstein's best album, but it is by no means their worst album. And if you heard their two singles that they released in anticipation for this album, Deutschland and Radio, you will pretty much get the feel for this album. Deutschland being this grim track with 10-ton riffage and a grimy bass performance and a grimy drum performance and theatrical vocals by the lead vocalist Till Lindemann, ascending and descending inspirited synths on this track, with the verses with the thumping drums and the background vocals either repeating what they're saying or throwing in these kind of ad-libby background vocals, along with this claustrophobic vocal delivery, makes it sound so creepy and ominous. And as these verses advance, I can't help but feel this gothic influence in this track, which is something that pops up quite a bit on this album, the gothic influence. The pianos that appear kind of in and out of nowhere add some nice depth, they don't detract at all, and the epicness of this track overall reminds me of one of my favorite Rammstein tracks, Du hast. Du hast mich. I highly suggest reading into the lyrics of Deutschland because they talk a lot about liberty and kind of questioning if you should love your country considering Germany's dark past. But to be honest, every country has a dark past, but it puts Germany in this very interesting kind of situation considering World War I and World War II, and Deutschland takes this kind of aspect of wanting to be proud of your nation, wanting to be proud of your liberty and where you come from, but kind of not forgetting about your dark past, which is undeniably an epic song topic, and Rammstein approaches it with grace, finesse, and ferocity. And as an American, I can relate to the topic of this track a lot. Now, obviously, World War I and World War II are just insane blotches on history, and Germany was pretty much one of the main countries. They were the main country that was responsible for that conflict going into it. But considering I come from a country that was basically robbed from indigenous Indians, as well as the country that was one of the major proponents of slavery, I mean, America's had an extremely fucking dark past, and I feel that way a lot with liberty, but this song relates to me a lot as well, just because I'm proud of the nation that the U.S. is currently, and I feel like that we've come a long way from some of the blotches on our history and some of the dark patches and dark things we've done. At the end of the day, I feel like every country has that like type of thing where you have to deal with some of the bad mistakes that some of your predecessors might have made to kind of advance their own country to where it is today, and look back not as a glorification type of thing, not saying this is our enriched history, but look back on this as a mistake to live by and going forward. Sorry for that little bit of a rant, but I just have to say I really do enjoy the lyrical topic of Deutschland. The glitchy synths opening up Radio immediately gets your blood pumping, and it slides in really smoothly into just gigantic, like 10-ton alternative metal riffs that sound like what an American alternative metal band that's been around for a while should be able to do, but a lot of them come up short of. The swirling synths that pass around this riffage, I was trying so hard to decide if this works or if it doesn't. I decided it does. The chorus slaps to all hell, as do a lot on this album, and that is one step up from a lot of Rammstein's past releases and one of the major roadblocks for their releases, in my opinion, where you would have these kind of low-key, kind of claustrophobic, very foreboding verses, and then they would just so anticlimactically burst into these garish, overwrought, blasting, inspirited choruses that would feel like there was no sort of linkage between the two that made them like logically connect to one another. But on this album, I think it's much more logical, both from an instrumental standpoint and a vocal standpoint. Radio! God, I love that refrain! Radio! 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 It's just so clean, it's just so sticky, as a lot of these choruses are. The opening choir vocals on the track Zeig dich, I am so sorry that I'm butchering these pronunciations. I don't speak German, I'm sorry. It makes it sound like a toned-down, slower intro of a power metal track. The chorus is absolutely ferocious, but in my opinion, the verses come up a little bit short on the department of being kind of packed in. It feels very minimalist, but not in the best way possible, and I think that the vocal performance and the instrumental on the verses are very scant, very bare bones, especially the instrumental, and it just leaves me wanting for more. Ausländer has this demented instrumental alongside this like kind of playful delivery from Till, which I very much get behind. I love the crunching, claustrophobic synths, and the bridge on this track really does a good job of swelling everything up pretty well. And the faint background vocals that repeat the main refrain kind of faintly in the background on the chorus are just so sticky for some reason. I don't understand why, but they just are. In other words, if I haven't said it a million times already, the choruses slap on this album. Puppet is the result of what a lot of alternative metal and alternative rock bands need to do, and that is have kind of a halfway point ballad on the album. Still, Till's vocals make it a very ominous track, and some of the kind of demented guitar riffage reminds me a little bit of if you took the low-key moody tracks of a Nirvana or a Pearl Jam and smacked them together with a gothic band. What I didn't expect though midway is for him to go into the screamed delivery. I was thinking his vocal delivery was nice, but the instrumental was just not that punchy and it wasn't matching his energy. Little did I know that it was going to go into massive walls of guitars as well as just like Mount Everest-sized drums and a vocal performance that I can only equate to a lion making its final stand against a pack of like 15,000 hyenas and letting out its final screams of life as it like kills a couple of them. Watch Ich Liebe and Diamant, in my opinion, are a little bit lullish in the track listing. They're more low-key, occasionally providing some lyricism, but I feel like the instrumentals are a prime example of really there, but really not there. By the album standards, it's very disappointing, especially on Diamant, where the instrumental is so scant and it's a ballad track, but it's a ballad track without the massive crescendo of Poupée, and the vocals kind of take the stage, but they're not doing much for me on this track, unfortunately. Till's a good vocalist, but here I just can't get behind it that much. Maybe it's the fact that it's underperformed from a vocal standpoint, maybe it's the fact that the instrumental is so bare bones that it's just not even funny, but either way, I don't really like them that much. And they're definitely my least favorite tracks on the entire album. Hollow Man ending the track list, in my opinion, feels pretty right. It feels like a decent conclusion. It has a hellish introduction to it with the distorted bass giving way to these Victorian age haunted house-esque pianos to it and the evil mad scientist maniacally whispering you his evil plan vocal delivery of Till. The guitar solo near the end is kind of soaked in all these effects and it makes it sound like the whole band is serenading you from the balcony level of this haunted mansion. I do think it ends a little bit abruptly though. It kind of goes through an interesting progression near the end and then just abruptly ends, unfortunately. So it's not Rammstein's worst, it's not Rammstein's best, and it's a very enjoyable listen. I love the choruses, a lot of the verses have a lot of power as well, and the instrumentals for the most part are very inspirited. I like the lyrics a lot on this album, especially on tracks like Deutschland and Radio, and like I said, these choruses slap like all hell, and I enjoyed this album a lot more than I didn't. I'm gonna be giving this album a 7 out of 10, and that is a wrap. Please stay for the end screen. I'll link some videos that you might be interested in. Comment below what you thought of this album. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot. And smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. And I'll talk to you guys next time. But until then, my name is Jay Morris, the Review Guy. You know who it is. And I'm signing off saying farewell.